Welcome to episode 2 of the Hotrod Kid podcast, hosted by me, Noah Norwood.
And produced by me, Garrison Foster.
So my guest today is a super cool guy and one of the local hot rodders we have around here. I've known him my whole life, and he's got more cars than I can even count. Please welcome Russ Heath. All right. Russ, how are you?
Good. Doing well.
Right on. So before we started recording, we didn't really get it, but you were talking about your YouTube channel. So you want to talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, sure. My YouTube channel that I've started here recently is Rusty Duck Garage. And it's a video basically about things that I do all the time.
Yep.
Cars, trucks that cross paths with me. It seems like a lot of cars follow me home. So, yeah, I've been posting up videos of various projects.
I've been watching it. And so, wasn't your first video the one of the harvest drags?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
And, it's a real learning curve, I'm trying to do the whole thing myself, the videoing and then all the editing and, posting everything and doing all that stuff. And, that was the first one I did. And I think it was pretty successful.
It was good, yeah. And you just use your phone, don't you?
Yeah.
See, that's the cool thing is, like, when I first started, like, when I was in, like, middle school and I started, like, getting into, like, video stuff and, like, it was around about the time that Garrison was, too, and that's kind of what we collaborated on. Like, you couldn't just use your iPhone because at that time, even though it's, like, not that long ago, it was still just not quite the quality you wanted, But now it's to where, like I have that camera and I never even use it. I mean, I'll use it for this because you can set the tripod on there, and like watching your videos, I can't even really tell that you're filming it off of an iPhone, It's just like, and same thing with my Instagram pictures. I'll take a picture on my phone and nobody can even tell that it's not a professional camera.
Right. And that was an iPhone 8 that I filmed that one with. And, I shake. I've got, I don't know why I shake, but I do.
I have the same exact thing. And so, like, it's hard for me to take video because I get what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah. So I after doing that video, when Charlie made a couple good passes there and whatnot, I noticed myself shaking pretty good in it. So I read up on the iPhone, the 12 Pro Max, and it has a really good stabilization. Yeah. So I've since bought the 12 Pro Max.
Oh, really? Sweet.
Yeah. And I just,
so was the video that you just did this morning that I watched, was that the new iPhone?
No, that was still the old iPhone 8.
Even that one looked pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, that one was the old iPhone 8.
Yeah.
But the quality of the Pro Max is really good, you know. The big thing for me was finding editing software. I reviewed a lot of stuff online and tried to figure out what it was that, what's going to work for me. And iPhone, have the iMovie built into the phone. Yep. And then so I bought a iMac computer, laptop that I was going to use to do the editing and stuff. And I found I didn't like it at all. I bought it at Costco, so 90-day return, right? Yeah. I took that thing back and I got the iPad Pro Max, or iPad Pro, I guess it is.
Oh, so like an iPad instead of a laptop?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's touchscreen and all those things, and it absolutely works like my phone.
Right.
So it's simple for me, and now I've learned to use it, and you can AirDrop, from your phone to the iPad, and then you can edit it.
Yeah, that was the biggest thing is I went from when I would use that camera and then, or do something on my phone and then having to email it to myself because I had a PC. And then when we recorded the last podcast with Gary on, his laptop and on my phone and everything, like I had some stuff I wanted to send to him. He's like, oh yeah, just AirDrop it to me. And I was like, that was so easy. I was like, yeah, so much nicer.
It is awesome. Yeah, really good.
And you're still using iMovie to edit your stuff?
I am. And the iMovie, when you want to upload to YouTube, as soon as you got your movie all edited and done, you punch a button and it goes right to YouTube. Yeah. However, I ran into a problem this weekend. Apparently, there's something going on between Apple and YouTube, and they've taken that button away. Oh. And I thought, well, I must have done something to cause it to go away, so I'm trying to figure out what I did and whatnot. I spent probably 4 hours trying to figure out what I finally found online where they had taken it away. Yeah. So now I have to copy and paste and send it over that way. Takes a little longer, but I know now I know how to do it.
Yeah, well, from what I've heard, iMovie is actually, I mean, Garrison would know better, but iMovie is actually, for as far as like a free entry level thing, it's actually pretty good, isn't it?
It's probably the best one you can use, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to stay with all Apple stuff just because of that, so it's easy to back and forth between things. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, and I'm surprised because I've seen like I said, I remember the first video that you released, which was not that long ago, and your channel's already getting some growth to it, so it's pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna try to keep cranking them out. I've got a few more going, and I really like Charlie's stuff there, and his cars. And I had my 30 Model A Roadster last year that I wish I'd have done videos on, but I hadn't because I hadn't started the channel yet. And I've got a 68 Camaro that I've had for 30 years.
Yeah, I remember that one because like, for people who don't know, I've known Russ like my whole life since my dad had his 51 GMC, and that's like, he's known me since I was like 2 years old. Yeah. And I remember that super radical. Yeah.
I still have that car. Then I have a 69 Camaro that I'm building that's sitting next to it at home. And then I have a 69 Roadrunner, 440, and I think I released a video on that. Yeah, I did.
The Roadrunner?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I saw that one.
Yeah. And I've got some other cars too, but I also get into just field finds, cars that I call them field of dreams.
Yeah. Well, the one that I saw this morning, like I was car farming.
Yeah, right.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Well, and like the thing with like, for me, when it comes to newer cars, like I'm so lost. And that's like one of the things that I've kind of like, people say, oh, you're a car guy. Can you help me with my car? I'm like, was it made after 1965? No. But when I've watched your videos, you obviously, you work in a shop, so you're more up to date on the newer car stuff. So
yeah, I see a car out in the field and there's something wrong with it. I feel confident I can fix any of them. I can get any of them going and relatively cheap.
Right.
Unless you get into a bad tranny, then it gets a little spinny.
What kind of things did you go through when you like started to be a mechanic and do that sort of stuff?
Well, it's funny. I'm wrenching at home and that sort of stuff, and then a friend started a small repair shop over there on off Evans Street in McMurdo. And I went to Ray's Auto Service, and I went to work for him for 2 or 3 years, and then a position opened up at Jim Dorn Chevrolet. It was actually Lucas Chevrolet back then, but then Jim Dorn bought it. And so then I started there and became a GM mechanic there for a few years. And then after a few years there, a position came open at the county and Public Works in the shop there. So I took that position. I've been there 33 years now.
Yeah,
so
you're the manager now, right?
Yeah. Fleet manager. Yeah.
Super cool. So you never even went through any type of like official schooling. It was just apprenticeship, more like that.
I did go to the GM training school, but that was just kind of 4 or 5 times a year, just small classes and stuff and whatnot. It was very helpful, but that's about it.
That's cool. Do you ever find that like when you're working on cars all day, like you have a hard time coming home and wanting to work on cars?
Well, fortunately for me, for the last 25 years, I really don't get dirty at work.
Oh, okay.
Mine's all administration type stuff. We have a large enough fleet to where, I manage the whole fleet, purchasing the vehicles, selling the vehicles, and all the record keeping, and all that stuff. So
that's cool.
Sheriff's Department keeps us pretty busy.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah. Well, I think I saw a picture on your Facebook where there was like a super like bent piston.
Yeah. That was one of the deputies out here by Bellevue decided he thought he could go through the high water.
Oh man, so it sucked up water in there, and
it was a nearly new Dodge Charger.
Yeah, water doesn't compress.
No, it doesn't.
So, that is not good.
So it bent the rod. And
well, I knew of a deputy who ripped off his shifter too, which apparently is a common problem in those earlier Dodge Chargers. Is that he went to shift it, and so he like put it into reverse and then just ripped off the shifter.
Yeah, we've had that happen a couple of times. Yeah. it's usually there's usually a sign that it's going to happen, and then some of the guys don't recognize it, and by the time
it's like getting kind of loose.
When it's loose in their hand, they realize there's a problem.
Yeah, and they're like, "Hey, we got an issue here."
Yeah.
Well, the funny thing would be is if you get in reverse and you're like, "What am I going to go from now?" You know,
right?
How do you get it back into park or drive?
I'll tell you a funny story. One time, this is back when the Ford Crown Victoria police cars, and this deputy had the old Crown Vic. And he'd gone to this house to serve a warrant on this guy. And he was a bad guy, you know, and he was pretty nervous, the deputy was, about being there. And so he just wanted to get in there, serve the warrant, and get out, right? So he goes up, and he gives this warrant to the guy, and the guy's not very happy. And so the deputy goes out to his car, and it was a fairly new car to him at the time, later model Crown Vic. And he can't get it in reverse. And he's kind of panicking, you know. And of course, he doesn't want to look like a fool, you know. Of course, the guy in the house is probably looking out and goes, what's he waiting for, you know? And he's out there trying to get this thing in reverse. So, and this is in the evening. So finally he calls me and he says, man, I said, I can't get this car in reverse. It will not come out of park. It will not come out of park. I said, well, just step on the brake pedal. And he's like, oh, man.
Oh, my God.
Because it was when the first of the shift interlocks, you know, where you have to step on the brake. He had forgot to step on the brake pedal to get it out of gear because he was so caught up in the moment.
That's like the Rangers at work. I think it was that first kind of thing, because you hear like a really loud clunk when you push on the brake pedal, and it releases the shifter. It's like super loud and mechanical. It's like clunk, and then you're like, and now you can put it in gear.
He's sitting there for 10, 15 minutes.
That's hilarious. Oh my God. Yeah, you probably come across a lot of stuff like that with like people who just aren't car people, and they're like super simple stuff.
Oh yeah, we do.
Push on the brake, man.
Yeah. Pretty.
So what? Like, you must have been into like hot rods your whole life, right? Like, what exactly? How did you get into hot rods and classic cars, stuff like that?
Well, you know, my first car, or a car that was going to be mine, my dad had bought a 55 Chevy 2-door post, and I was born up here, but we moved to California to work on the Orville Dam down there, big dam project. And Dad had bought this 55 Chevy for like $150, and it was 2-door post. Really a nice survivor old car. And when I was turned 16, it was going to be my car, which was several years away. But anyways, we had been to somewheres in the family wagon and stopped at the local store to get hamburger buns or whatever it was on the way home that night. Well, the alternator had gone out on the fair lane, so it wouldn't start. Well, we're only a couple blocks from the house. So Dad walked down and got the 55 Chev and to come over and jump out the fair lane. We got down there and we jump started, and it was dusk by then. And so Mom took off in the 55, was crossing the highway to go home, and a guy was coming and didn't have his headlights on and hit the 55 in the quarter. So destroyed the 55. So I never did get the 55, but that's where it started. You know, that 55, I was dreaming of that car being mine.
I feel like, everybody has that one car, because for me, like I was saying, it was my dad's 51 GMC pickup, because I was like 2 years old, and I remember he'd like start it up, you know, and you'd like feel that in your chest, and it was super loud, and just this cool old truck, and like I just loved that thing, you know, and I feel like everybody probably has that one car that started it all. Yeah, it
does, and it gets in you, and you can't get it out, you know. I don't know if you know Steve Williams, but both of his boys, you know, went to college down at Oregon State, I think it was, and whatnot. And they were anti-car guys. You know, Steve was really passionate about cars, and they just were anti-car guys because they were sports guys, and they were too macho for it, right? Right. Today, they are the most car crazy guys I've ever met.
Yeah.
You know, it got into them. They don't have a choice.
Yeah. And that's the funny thing is, because like, I'm still doing the same thing right now that I was doing when I was like a freshman in high school. Still just working on cars and, you know, keeping with that. But the people who did sports, you know, once high school was over, and then if they didn't go to college, or even if they did go to college after that's done, you know, they can't play sports anymore. So then a lot of them were just kind of like, what do I do now? You know?
Right.
But for me, it was just like, when high school was over, it was like, nothing changed. You know, I was just still doing fabrication stuff, working on old cars, and so it has a lot more longevity.
It does.
Feel like.
Yeah. I'm passionate about it every day. You know.
And nothing against people who are into sports, but I've just never gotten it. You know?
No.
Yeah. I couldn't tell you anything about what game was just on. Or
me neither.
I'm being the bad one here with my phone going off.
If you probably watched the movie Napoleon Dynamite.
Yeah.
Uncle Rico. That's a classic.
Uncle Rico. He's like, I bet you I could throw a football over those mountains.
He's stuck in it, man. He's stuck.
He does have a pretty cool hippie van, though.
Yes, he does.
Yeah.
Well, have you noticed it's the extra wide one? Mm-hmm. Look at it real close. In the center of the van, there's an extra 6 inches in the hood that goes down the whole van. Uh-huh. Those vans were factory widened.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Check it out next time you watch it.
So what were they factory widened for? Just for like a camper?
They were camper vans. Uh-huh. Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
And I don't know if the factory actually did it or if it was sent out to someplace.
Right.
But if you look real close, you'll see that seam down the hood where that van is widened.
Yeah. That's cool, though.
Yeah.
I've always, there's still a part of me that was like, I'll just be a van traveling hippie, get like a cool like VW van and just travel around and live out of the van,
It's funny, if you jump on YouTube and watch stuff, and there's a lot of people doing that, and it's really it's interesting. Mm-hmm. It would be fun.
Probably couldn't do it for too long though.
No.
Yeah. But I think it'd be interesting.
Money would run out soon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So right now, how many, like we were talking about, how many cars do you have? You were saying like you thought like a dozen or something? Yeah,
probably a dozen. Yeah. And that would be various types, I have a 62 Kenworth truck that's out in Perrydale.
Really?
I have, like I say, I had a 69 Roadrunner, 69 Camaro, 68 Camaro. I have a 15 GMC Duramax, 21 GMC Duramax, another 2008 Duramax, I don't know, a Toyota truck. Just sold the Mustang this morning.
Oh, okay.
And various others.
Yeah, and you just did that deal on the Sierra, right? Wasn't that what it was?
Yeah.
Yeah. I watched the video on that one, but for people who don't know, tell them about the whole Sierra flip that you did. That was pretty good, I thought. Yeah,
and that was actually the Silverado, but
it was a Silverado.
Yeah.
Okay.
So with the whole COVID thing, we had a 2018 GMC Sierra that we really liked and everything, but there was a couple things we really didn't like about it. But also, I always watch the values of vehicles, especially vehicles that I have and I'm interested in. Anyways, that 18, the resale value was so high on it that it just made sense for me to sell it outright and take advantage of the $13,000-$14,000 off rebates. And so I sold the 18 and I went to buy another a 20 that was equipped similar to the one I had. Well, the COVID thing had hit. So the supplies had been diminishing and faster than what I anticipated. And I wasn't able to buy the truck that I really wanted. So I ended up buying that 2020 Silverado Custom, and I still was able to get $10,000 off.
So before you did the Silverado, you did the same thing with the Sierra?
I did, but not as quickly. Okay. On that one, I did lose money, but I put 36,000 miles on it too.
Right. I
didn't lose badly, but I did.
And it's hard to not lose money with new cars like that, Yeah.
So the 2020 Silverado, I picked it up for $30,500, and then there was DMV fees on it. And so, that truck, when I bought it, I knew it wasn't the truck to keep because my wife was used to her old truck, which had all the nice things in it, heated seats and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, the Apple CarPlay.
But I wasn't going to go pay retail for another truck like what she had. That wasn't going to happen. So I bought that Silverado for $30,500, and we drove it for 8,000 miles. And I kept watching the rebates, and I said the rebates had pretty much gone away because there was no supply of trucks, out there. So I kept watching and kept watching for the rebates to line up again. And one night I was watching on Auto Traders where I typically do it. And I saw 10,000 off again. And so so I'm setting in this 2020 that I've got 8,000 miles off. And with 10,000 off, that truck was the same price as a truck that we were currently driving.
Yeah.
Right? So I thought, well, you know what? I'm going to find out what I can get for this truck. So I go over to CarMax, and I knew the truck was strong. I knew I could get at least 31,000 for it. And so I drive it over the CarMax, and they offer me $34,000 for the truck.
Man.
So I say they paid me $3,000 to drive that truck 8,000 miles, you know?
Right.
So, so I sell the truck to them, they give me a check, and I go to buy the other truck. Well, they give you 7 days to accept the offer. Well, during that 7 days, guess what? They sold those trucks.
Oh, yeah.
But I knew that was a very good offer, so I decided to go ahead and take the offer, and I sold the truck and gave her something to drive. I don't remember what, but I started watching really closely, and the very first day of the month is usually when they bring out the rebates, and the very first day of the month, I found $10,000 off again, and so I was able to buy one. This time with the 3.0 diesel, and I'm going to be doing a video on that one real soon here. And man, has that been a really cool truck.
You got her a diesel now?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a little 3.0 inline 6-cylinder Duramax diesel.
Really? So is it in like a Colorado or something?
No, it's in a full-size half-ton.
Oh, that's super cool.
It's got a 10-speed automatic, and it is just phenomenal. So it's a full-size half-ton truck, crew cab. We go over the coast a lot, and going down there 28 to 32 miles a gallon. She's running up and down the hill that we live on up here, and averages 24 miles a gallon all the time.
Yeah, that's
and the truck
awesome.
Yeah, because our other trucks, with the V8 gas, we would average about 16 at best, running up and down the hill and stuff. So, yeah, it's pretty cool. But I'll be releasing a video on that real soon here. Nick in town at Executive Motors, he's got a dyno. We're going to dyno the little Duramax
I know
diesel.
that one because I've delivered out there before. Because Dan was like, "Hey, I need you to take some parts out to Executive Motors," and he tells me where it is, and I walk in, and I'm like, "You have a dyno?"
Yeah.
Sweet. Yeah.
We've had some pretty good dyno night parties out there. Not parties.
Dyno
tunes.
Dyno tunes. There you go.
Yeah, we were playing with the Hellcat. He's got a Hellcat Charger right now. Yeah, and we've dynoed that. And he had a Hellcat Challenger before that. But we did a lot of diesels out there, and Nick's pretty good at tuning the diesels.
Well, that's mostly what he does, right? Is diesel work, yeah.
But he's because of the dyno, people are bringing him different stuff, and he's learning that stuff pretty quickly. He's a smart guy. He just did a CTS-V Cadillac. They did some long tube headers and some various things, and kicked out some pretty good numbers with that.
I'm sure his neighbors got to love him out there in Bunn's Village.
Well, and he has had a problem with that, and he told the guy that owns the whole complex out there, Lou, he says, "Lou, we're putting a dyno in. You approved it. What'd you think was going to happen?"
Right. Well, and the other kind of cool thing is most of Bunn's Village is a bunch of shops anyways, so other than that furniture place, it's way down there. Encore, yeah. Other than Encore, everything through there is either fabrication or car stuff or mostly car related stuff. So
yeah, I know if you know Jared out there, Jared and Kristen. Kristen's my daughter.
Oh, okay.
They're in the old Frontier building.
The old Frontier building.
Yeah.
Which
Frontier transmission.
Okay.
Be the first ones as you come in, second ones on the right. And they're doing a ton of lift kits and all kind of stuff.
Yeah.
We're getting ready. I'm going to do a video real soon here on a 2021 Jeep Gladiator, and we're putting 6-inch lift and 40s on that. So I'm going to do a video on that.
Sweet.
Yeah. So like I said, my channel is all over the board, but it's got wheels. Yeah,
and it makes it a lot easier that way too. And it also makes it easy with you staying as busy as you are with all of your different stuff. So
yeah.
And for if you hear rain right now, it's pouring down rain right now in Oregon. Yeah, it's it's been miserable. That Russ was just saying, he's been dealing with high water and all that stuff. It's flooding over here in the lovely Pacific Northwest in the wintertime.
Yeah, we've got some roads closed out there right now.
Yeah, and I was saying, one of the neighboring Clackamas counties, it had a big boulder, that was in the middle of the road. It's crazy. Yeah. Makes me miss or be jealous of the people that are in like California and stuff and like all the nice weather.
Right.
Yeah. Or like my sister, she just got back from Mexico.
Oh, wow.
Like,
nice
it's like
down
a nice
there.
beach. Yeah.
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 Well,
you got to answer that.
yeah, speaking of that, that is the high water phone.
All right, you can go answer it. Yeah.
Okay, that's the YCOM emergency call center. So, all right. Sorry about that.
It's all right. We'll take a little break.
Thanks, man, because it's like you can just...
Oh, it's a time warp. I'll tell you what, because we've already gone for 30 minutes.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah. Yeah.
Usually what I'll do though is I'll clap,
Yeah.
so then it creates a spike on the audio and the video, and I can sync them up. So
Yep. Yeah.
makes
So
it
if
a
you
little
ever
bit
see movies with the clapperboard,
Yeah.
that's what that clapperboard does. Is it creates two spikes in the audio, and then you can match them up.
Really?
Because if you were to just play the audio that's on these cameras, it would be terrible audio, you know.
Huh.
But once you get this recorded and you match it up with that, then it starts to sound better. Yeah.
Wow. We've already been in 30 minutes.
I know, it's crazy. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Well, when we had Gramps, you know, because I was thinking like, oh, I kind of want to, you know, when I'm recording these, go between like 30 minutes to an hour, kind of around that range, you know. And then I remember like I kind of ended it with Gramps, and I asked Garrison, like, I was hoping that we made it to 30 minutes. He's like, no, we've been going for 51 minutes. And I'm like,
50. Whoa.
Yeah.
Wow.
Which I don't want to make it too long, I guess, because I just think like I wouldn't want to hear myself talk that long, you know, like who's gonna want it, but I think that people will be interested to listen, you know. So
Yeah. There's definitely a group out there that, you know, they're just chilling, they got time, and
exactly.
they're just driving down the road, and you know, I'm not a music guy, so I would rather listen to stuff like this, you know.
Yeah. See, I'm like both. I listen to a lot of music, you know, but I guess when it comes time to like really focus on something, you know, and just like chill out, like especially in the mornings, I definitely like to listen to a podcast instead.
Yeah.
Usually that's my go-to, getting ready for work in the morning.
Podcast.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's like, it's too early for music. Just something nice and
yeah,
calm.
exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
Exactly. So you were saying you do listen to some podcasts right now, though, right?
Not too much.
Okay.
No, not really.
Okay.
I'm trying to think of one that I do, but not.
Well, you were telling me about who was it? The NASCAR guy.
Oh yeah, and it's a television show, but it is a podcast, you know. So yeah,
that's what we're doing with. We're gonna do YouTube and on just podcasting apps, you know. So you can pull it up, like if you have an iPhone, they always come with the Apple Podcasts, so it'll be on there, Spotify, or anything like that. So you can just listen to the audio, or you can look it up on YouTube and watch the YouTube video. So
nice.
Yeah, but I think it'll be good to cross promote with each other.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's good. I mean, anybody and everybody you can, I think.
Exactly.
It's really good. I mean, you even see the big guys, they do it for that reason.
Yep.
And for some guys, it really grows their channels.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. And that's one of the cool things that is like in the car community especially is I found there's very little competition, you know, because even I'm trying to start my business, HRK Design, of like fabrication and metal shaping and working on hot rods. And all the guys that I know on Instagram who are doing the same exact thing as me, you know, are already established. They don't look at me like, oh, here's this young guy trying to come and take away work, you know what I mean? And nobody really does that with anybody. They're just more like, oh, yeah, you know, like, hey, let me give you some tips on this. Or like, hey, you know, this is what's worked for me, you know. And I've had a lot of them who even like they're running hot rod shops, you know, and they're sharing my page saying, hey, you need to follow this guy. He's trying to start a hot rod shop, you know?
Right.
And so that's what's really cool with, like, especially the ones that I've been able to interact with, you know.
Yeah.
All the guys that, what's also cool is all the guys that I've like looked up to and like metal shaping and that type of thing. They're just normal dudes, you know. And I've been able to chat back and forth with them on Instagram, and I can actually meet them at some car events and stuff, you know. And they're just super supportive and just.
There used to be a guy around here, Ron Novell. Have you ever seen any of his videos? Ron Novell. He's kind of a master. I mean, he did a lot of videos, but he also did a lot of classes and stuff for people, and
cool.
he used to do a lot in the Northwest. But then I think I don't know if he moved or what happened, but he was super good.
Well, I just met what was his name? Chop Top Jim, I think it was his name. He's a guy. Gramps introduced me to him. He's this old guy who was a guy who chopped the Merc Coupe in American Graffiti.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And so what he said is that he was under such a time constraint for that, because they wanted it chopped so fast. He didn't even actually chop it. What he did is he just sent the back just into the trunk. So if you opened the trunk, you could just see where he just like slid it back in there. But it ended up looking, really good.
Yeah.
But yeah, Chop Top Jim. I think his name was Jim.
I got to get you hooked up with my next door neighbor, Steve Tyree.
Okay.
I don't know if you know Steve. But Steve what he does is bronze sculpture work.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And back in the day, hot water heaters were made out of bronze.
Yeah.
They last forever, right? And so these guys, the scrappies, would go in and take hot water heaters out of houses and whatnot, and then they'd haul them in for the bronze value of them. And so this one old scrappy started selling those hot water heaters to Steve, and Steve would take those and cut pieces out of them and make art out of these. Wildlife is what he does. And so then it got to where he was doing bigger life-size stuff, so he buys sheep bronze and stuff.
That's super cool.
He makes all of his own tooling.
That's super cool.
You know, and this is what he does. You know, he's done this for his whole career.
Yeah.
And he's right next door. The art harvest tour that goes around each year was canceled this year, but they go up there and stuff. But you'd really like seeing what Steve does.
Yeah. I've gotten super interested in just seeing other people that are like manufacturing things and creating things, you know, like even like I was just watching a video the other night about this company who manufactures the shells for rockets that go into space. And it's just super cool because like you got serious craftsmen in there that they're building stuff that's going into space, and just how wide of a range it is. Or like you know, Adam Savage, who used to be on Mythbusters, the guy with the glasses. Yeah, he has a YouTube channel now too where he builds all kinds of stuff. And yeah, just the whole idea of just, you know, making or building it and not just, you know, buying it. It's super cool. And like it's cool to see all the different tools that it takes to do different kinds of jobs and the different expertise that, you know, people have. Yeah. And like right now, my current thing is metal shaping that I've been super into. So yeah.
Well, I tell you what, Steve does some serious metal shaping.
Yeah. That's super cool.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for coming on. It's been really good talking with you. We'll have to have you on again sometime. Yeah.
Oh,
like I said,
good.
It's a time work. Like what time are we at now?
33 minutes.
Yeah, see, so we're almost getting to 40 minutes, but I really appreciate it. It's been good talking with you. Yeah.
You bet. It's been fun. This summer's going to bring some pretty cool stuff, I think.
I know, I'm excited.
Get some guys out, and then
I'm excited for warm weather too.
It'd be neat to do a little something before the Harvest Fest, you know, and
you weren't able to come to our hot rod party, were you?
No, I actually didn't even know about it.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Now I feel bad.
Yeah. I know.
Yeah, we had people come in that I didn't even know because we had people telling other people who told other people. And so like when I looked at who had shared my Facebook post of like, which is what we wanted anybody and everybody to come if you're into hot rods, you free beer and tacos, you know. And so pretty soon I'm like, I don't even know who this guy is sharing. And like, I don't even have any mutual friends with this guy because it's like shared for the third time. And we have cars, like we ended up having like 50 cars here.
Wow.
And like, yeah, I want to say like half the people I didn't even know.
Nice.
It was super cool. So yeah, we'll have to see you at that next year.
Yeah, I'm planning to buy a Model A. I'm looking for a coupe, you know, banger. I mean, a flathead would be awesome, but you know, under 10 grand or something like that. Charlie's starting to look for me now, but just had so much fun with it last year. So plan to have something
you might
this summer.
have to be like Gramps and Jared. We had to make a couple trips because they have so many cars, they couldn't just drive them over here.
Right.
You're probably going to be the same way. We're going to have to shuttle you back and forth so you can get 3 or 4 cars over here because that's how it was for them. Yeah.
Did you see my little 68 C10 I just picked up? I did a video on that.
Oh, yeah,
too.
I did. Yeah. The short box.
Yeah.
That's super cool. And those things are getting harder to find now. A lot more people are looking for the C10s, especially the short boxes.
Yeah, I didn't realize how hard they were to find.
Yeah.
You know, when Doug told me the price on the truck, I thought, well, that's okay, you know. But in back of my mind, I'm looking at the pictures of that truck, thinking, man, I'm gonna go pay $8,500 for that truck,
right? You're like, who do you think you are?
Yeah, I'm thinking, I'm thinking, what am I doing going paying $8,500 for this truck? But he's my good buddy, so I can't beat him up on the price, you know. So I went over and I bought the truck. And before I could get it home, my cousin followed me home and he offered me $10,500 for the truck. And I said, it's not for sale. It is not for sale. And so, and later I went over to another good friend of mine's car guy, Sean Gentry. And he does circle track racing and a lot of good stuff. He'd be a great guy to talk to.
Does he live in McMinnville?
Lafayette.
Lafayette, okay.
Yeah. And I went over there and he wanted to buy the truck and he had cash money. It's not for sale.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I didn't realize quite how hard they are to find. And since then, I've been looking at for some. And
well, you know who's to blame for that is, have you ever heard of that Delmo guy?
Don't think so.
So look up Delmo. He does some super radical C10 stuff. And I'm like, I mean, he kind of, I mean, it was there before he started doing stuff, but really I think that he's the one who sent it over the edge because he has a major hot rod shop and he does some, the whole like slammed C10 thing with the big LS motor and like the patina look on it, that's totally the Delmo style. Have you ever heard of Old Crow Speed Shop? Like Bobby Green?
I have.
So Bobby Green, Old Crow Speed Shop, and Delmo's used to be in the same place. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think a lot of this stuff is going out of the country too,
for sure.
Yeah, yep. I've got a friend that I bought a Caprice police car, one of the newer ones, 2014 I think it was, with the 6.0 in it.
Yeah.
Pretty hot little car, but I just bought it at an auction one time. It was a great deal, and I got it home and I put it on Craigslist. And this friend of mine, Matt, he bought him. He came over from Germany to the Portland swap meet. He comes over every year and he buys cars and takes them back. Well, he came over and he bought a couple cars, but he needed, wanted some more. And he saw that thing. I had it on Craigslist. And he came out and fell in love with the car and bought it. And I didn't think too much about it, but he took that car back to Germany. And it's a huge deal over there.
Yeah.
And so the plates over there, the license plates are 911 on that car, or it's call 911, I think, which
funny.
Doesn't have any meaning over there, apparently, So
because they don't have 911, it was probably something else.
Yeah, they probably have something else, So the plates are call 911. But he eventually sold the car.
Yeah.
He's a dealer over there and stuff, but he's a really neat guy, and he's got some big followers over. He's a journalist. He's an automotive journalist.
That's super cool.
And next time, if Swap Me goes this year, he'll be over. I'll have to hook you up with
so much this year.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but if we do have a swap, I'm looking to, if Swap Meet works this year, which I probably better do it soon, but I'm looking to get a booth for HRK Design. So one of those indoor ones in the Expo Center. Yeah, because I want to kind of display my work and see if I can pick up some good customers, because I feel like that'd be a good place to display and show what my business is, So yeah, definitely if...
Well, I'm planning on getting a booth inside also.
Right. Yeah. Svensson always does that. Sheriff Svensson.
Right.
Yep. And he's the one. So the seat that's in my F100 now, the booth, like just a couple ones down from him, it was a 56. I have a 57. 56 F100 seat, and he wanted $20 for it.
Wow.
And it was like this brown vinyl. It was actually in pretty good shape. It had one tear in it, but the frame was in amazing shape, And so I'm like, excuse me, sir, did you accidentally forget to put a 0 on this?
Yeah, exactly. Right.
And he's like, no, it's $20. He's like, that's a truck I drove all throughout high school. And he's like, I had to part with the truck, and now I got to part with the seat, And I gave him 20. I'm like,
right now,
take my money. Yeah.
Right.
And then I went down to Sheriff Spence and I was like, hey, can you hold this for me, And so then when I got it reupholstered, I did it myself from a kit from LMC Truck. And I was like, hey, you want to see the seat now? He's like, that's the seat.
Wow.
And because it was it was pretty, torn up. But yeah, I bought a kit for a couple $100 on LMC Truck.
Nice.
And then you just new foam, slipped the vinyl over it and hog ringed it. And I felt like some master upholsterer. It was super easy.
Right.
Yeah.
Our swap meet here in Portland is
it's amazing.
I call it in our backyard because it's just not very far away, and it is really a great swap meet. There's some good swap meets around the nation, but I think the Portland swap meet's one of the tops.
Yeah. Well, it's 8 miles. I mean, I think
huge.
It's other than if you go to Pomona, which is way, way down Southern California, it's the biggest one on the West Coast.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's it's stuff that people drag out of their backyard some of the swap meets get kind of commercialized, and stuff, where the Portland swap meet is just, there's just a lot of raw, good stuff that hasn't been seen for a long time.
Yeah, everything down from the tiniest little part, to like full cars, full running and driving cars. It's crazy. And like, I went there with Gramps. I go with him every year, Gramps and Jared. And so we're walking around and we see this guy who had this booth, and it was like 2 booths put together with just hundreds and hundreds of carburetors. Every type of carburetor you could imagine. And Gramps is walking by and he's like, carburetor, I need a carburetor. I can't find a carburetor anywhere around here. Anybody got a carburetor? And we're just like, oh my gosh.
Oh, yeah.
It was a good time, though.
They are. It's a great time up there. Yeah, I bought a 67 El Camino SS396 354. It's really a neat car. My brother actually picked it up for me from a gentleman up in Puyallup, Washington. His name's Bruce Caldwell. He was the editor of Hot Rod Magazine. So because he's the editor of Hot Rod Magazine and later Muscle Car Magazine and Mustang Magazine, several different ones, but he would get all the new car release stuff that the press would get sent to his house. So he had thousands of these press release magazines and things for GM, Mazda, Mercedes, everything. Well, he saved it all in these boxes. Well, he's at retirement age now, and he's needing to get rid of this stuff. So when we bought the El Camino, we had to take this whole truckload. The El Camino was completely full, and the back of my brother's flatbed was completely full of totes of all these, magazine articles for all different makes. And so I have all those things. And they're plugging up my shop, so I'm waiting for the swap meet, and I'm going to be selling that stuff up there.
That'll be super cool.
There's some pretty cool stuff in it.
Well, hopefully it happens, then we can meet up.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's always good to hunt with other people, because you're like, hey, keep an eye out for a set of hooker headers. And then you're like, hey, right there.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, and then you can disperse, and you calling up, and you're like, yeah, I'm like literally 3 miles away from you, but I got the thing you're looking for, Yeah,
we used to camp up there, and have the golf cart and run back and forth top to bottom, and then things got a little wild down at the racetrack at night on the golf cart. I can imagine.
That's like Bonneville.
A little bit of beer flowing. And
it's like Bonneville, the bend in the road where everybody camps out there.
Been there, done that. I tell you a story about that. One night, Dad and I went down to Bonneville. We didn't know how hard it was to get a room, right? And this is 2009. And so, we couldn't get a room, but, well, I guess we did kind of know that it was going to be hard. So we put a tent, in the trunk of the car before we left, just in case. And so we go down and can't get a room, can't do anything. So we got to the bend of the road, and we set up a tent out there. Well, where do you set a tent up at the bend of the road? It's not like you can put it behind a grove of trees because they're in the tree for 100 miles, So you look for some sagebrush, and put your tent by the sagebrush. And so we did, and kind of out of the way where there wasn't a whole lot of other people and whatnot. And people are partying, So we go into town, and we go downtown to the casino. And
the Nugget.
Oh,
car
yeah.
Show. I love the Nugget.
That's the world's best car show.
It is the best car show ever, And that's where I was saying.
That's the real deal right there.
You go to people that, all these people I look up to, these big hot rod builders, they're just sitting there drinking a beer. You're like, hey, how's it going? And you just walk up to them, just talk to them. Yeah, it's
super cool. But we went to the Nugget and just had a great time. And so we go back out to the bend of the road, right? And we get back out to our tent. We think, okay, well, we're going to crash. And we're all good, right? So we get in the tent, and we got the old car parked out there, kind of blocking the tent partially, on one side and whatnot. Well, these guys are all, it's 2 o'clock in the morning now. And these guys they haven't slowed down a bit. They're partying hardy, right? So this guy's in this Volkswagen Baja bug, and he's drunk. And we're inside this tent, and we're trying to go to sleep. And next thing we know, he's just flying out there. And you see these headlights coming towards your tent, and you're just like, and he goes by.
Oh, man.
And he goes back. He does this for, must have been an hour and a half. I mean, this guy's just out there.
Yeah,
boy, the next morning I found that guy.
It gets wild out there. It's a good time.
It's a good time.
And then you always know, there's the people who are out there when it first opens at like 7 a.m., getting ready to go on the salt.
Oh, yeah.
And then there's the people who they're showing up at like noon.
Yeah.
When I was like, yeah, you guys.
That's the bend of the road guys.
Are the bend of the road people.
Right.
And then there's always the people who they try to, because the road that connects right to the salt, that's where they have everything gated off, and you got to show your pass and be like, hey, we paid to be here. And then there's always the people who try and go around, like, because it's almost like, a joke when you look at it, because you're like, why would they don't have it fenced off or anything? Just go around the road.
Right.
Well, they don't know that how soupy that mud is.
Right.
And so you'll see, I saw full size like RVs out there just stuck, and it's how are you, like, buried like halfway up the wheels. It's like, how are you ever gonna get out of there?
I've seen some pretty good videos on motorhomes stuck out there, getting them out and stuff. It's quite
if you have one of those little razors or something, you're probably good to go. But when you're trying to take like a pickup or like a car, or like, forget about it. You're done.
I talked to this guy. He borrowed his good buddy, his neighbor, motorhome, and we're talking the $200,000 motorhome, air brakes, really, really a nice motorhome. Towed his trailer down there and everything. And they would take that motorhome out there on the salt every year, and that salt just flies everywhere, Well, the old guy that owned the motorhome just virtually did not use it. So the only time it would go was back and forth to Bonneville every couple of years. Well, that salt got so bad underneath that motorhome, it rusted everything and rusted all the brakes and stuff. That poor guy, he finally sold it. It was bad. That old salt does a number on things.
Yeah, it really, you got to be careful what you take out there. And like, if you see guys that like, Salt City Speed Shop, right? They'll have just a gorgeous car out there, like this gorgeous 34 Ford. Well, that's because they take it back after Bonneville and they tear the whole thing apart, and like, you know what I mean?
It's the only way you get it all out.
Yeah, or what a lot of guys will do is they'll trailer it out to the salt and then roll it out just to look cool. But yeah, and like the Rolling Bones too. I mean, they gotta take all their cars apart,
The Rolling Bones, man. I didn't know who the Rolling Bones were when I first went there in 2009. And I see this, I think it was it was a 32 Ford. Yep. Chop top, kind of a
hard
yellowish.
Chopped. Yep.
Right. And when you looked at the car, me not knowing who they were or how this all works, I'm looking at this car and it's got some dented hubcaps and some missing things, and it's got some rusty coolant on the motor and just a lot of things, just a raw, old school, cool car.
Super late 40s,
But yet I could also tell this was a very high quality car. You could just see little things about it that just made you think, there's more to this story than this car with a missing hubcap and a bent up hubcap, and whatnot. So I walk up and I'm looking at the car and I look inside, and here's this camera on the front seat that must be a $12,000 camera. And, I'm thinking there's probably more to this than what I'm seeing here, and then come to find out that these are very well tuned.
Have you watched some of their documentaries?
I have a little bit. Yeah. But so I found out more about them, and that car, that you're looking at, you think is just a beat up old hot rod, is not.
It's
very high quality.
Easily 80 to 100 grand for one of those. Yeah,
very high quality. But if you don't know what you're looking for, you won't see it.
Well, it's like I was showing my girlfriend, just like I got my V8 tattoo,
nice,
from 32, and I was showing her, just because it's a 1932, when the first year the V8 came out for Ford, just because it's a 32. It was a rusted, like, had no floorboard, this little 5-window coupe, just looked like somebody just pulled it straight out of a field. 15 grand.
Oh, yeah.
Just because and I told her, I was like, if that would have been a 30 or a 31, you'd be like 2.
Right. Right. Yeah.
But 15 1 year grand. Yeah, it's crazy.
And try to find one now.
Well, that's why Brookville, a lot of the Rolling Bones cars, they're all Brookville bodies.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty neat stuff.
Well, we said we were going to end a little bit ago, but we were just getting into
we ran along.
It's great, though.
Yeah.
Because we're getting into some good conversation here. Yeah.
Good stuff.
It was really great. It flowed really well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on.
You betcha. It's been fun.
Yeah. We're still working out the kinks of things because this is only our second one, but yeah.
I can see doing this in the future. It's got some, like Charlie be a great guy to interview and stuff. And love to see you guys do something like this before the Harvest Fest.
Yep. Like I said, we'll have you on again sometime.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you guys.